Lighthouse podcast. Today's topic is going to revolve around equity in STEM. In our last segment, we had some fun unpacking some interdisciplinary coursework, tethered into some design, had a really cool introduction conversation around JTerm at the partner schools here in the Tacoma Public School District. And so what's fun is as we dive into today's topic, we're going to get to unpack that even further. I'm Adam Koulas. I'm the Director of Innovative Learning and CTE, all of our career tech ed in Tacoma. And I'm joined by yet another all-star cast. And we're gonna do a little whip around so that our listening audience and our viewers kind of get a feel for who's in the room today. So we'll start to my left here,
right.
Mr. Jimmy Brown.
Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. Consulting, which is an ed consulting organization. Been doing the work since 2008 in schools, 2016 as an entrepreneur, and just really, not a professional teacher, but I consider myself a professional leader, right? And so I'm here to share space with bright individuals, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Hi, I have an aviation course, and I've partnered with Ms. Thiersch on a JTerm or a mini-term that we're going to talk about today regarding social innovation.
Hello, I'm Lily Brooks Walker, and I'm a junior at IDEA.
And hello, my name is Mari Thiersch, and I'm a math and physics teacher at IDEA.
Excellent. So, like I said, exciting group here today. I think what's fun about this series is we have all sorts of different underlying themes and topics that surface. And as we've prepped for this, it's truly a conversation. And so, in that regard, we'll go in reverse order. Let's give just a taste of kind of what inspires you in terms of this topic. And I know it's a broad one in terms of equity in STEM, and as we'll unfold, it's much larger than that. But what kind of inspires you, and why are you excited to be here today?
I think that this is an extremely important issue, especially working at IDEA. We're currently a school that is 83% male, and so thinking about how do we provide opportunities and provide space for all that are welcome who are interested in STEM. So
I'll pause real quick. So unpack IDEA for me. We have some really innovative school models in Tacoma, and just for those tuning in that kind of outside of our area, what is IDEA High School?
Sure. IDEA High School is one of the 3 partner schools here in Tacoma, Washington. IDEA is kind of the inverse of SOTA and SAMI, in which we have community partners come in and our students focus on engineering and design. We've worked to convert an old elementary school into an amazing maker space lab there.
Great. So we'll hop back to the inspiration train. Lily, what inspires you in terms of today's conversation?
I think I'm inspired to learn more about representation and also help others recognize that it's needed in STEM, and also to communicate my ideas and also become better at listening to other ideas.
That's great.
Good answer.
Yeah. Powerful.
So my background, I'm a late to teaching teacher, and my background is in a STEM field. I was a military pilot for about 16 years prior to coming into teaching, and was always the underrepresented group, and I'm changed that dynamic because I see the importance of being able to have that representation in fields that don't traditionally have it.
Yeah, I love that. For me, it's like the socioeconomic impact STEM can have on community. When you think about the executive level opportunities that are there to change the lives of people who are underserved and underrepresented, I think that can create a generational shift, right? When you talk about economic mobility, putting people in position to really be homeowners, for them to really understand the idea of creating a path, right, for family members and others that look like them to start to really impact STEM, I think that's priceless. Yeah.
Love it. So let's dive in. So one of the outcomes, or the whole kind of why behind why we're doing this series, is around unpacking design, unpacking ideas into action, and we have some really fun ones to kind of dive into today. I want to start, like I said before, if you didn't get a chance to check out episode 1, go grab it. It's this fun progression with some real kind of key highlights in terms of something that all the partner schools participate in around JTerm or mini-term. And so would one of the 3 of you No pressure, Lily. I'd love to hear a student unpack. Just kind of remind our listeners kind of what is JTerm or mini term?
Okay. JTerm or mini term, it's right after winter break, and the students have a class that they've already decided on. And so normally you stay at your home school or you go to a different one. And so we have the same class for the whole 8 hours, and it's the whole month of January, I believe. And so we just work with the same group of students all day for the whole month. We work on building ideas and designing a project or presenting a project and just coming up with all the data, the research, or just the team building. And then hopefully at the end of it, we have a finished product or a finished PowerPoint that we can show others.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
Teaser alert, like you did it and we're gonna unpack it. Anything that either two of you would add in terms of JTerm outcomes and kind of the why behind it?
To me, it's really about being able to explore things beyond the traditional boxes that we're put in as math and science teachers, so we can really show our passions off with students as well, and really get to work. I think one of the best parts is being able to work with a co-teacher on it as well, and that really pushes each other in that way. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's great that you mentioned that because I think that was a theme that resonated in the first one, is this interdisciplinary fusion, to really focus on what the outcomes are in terms of student learning, student engagement, student empowerment. So wonderful. So on that theme, let's dive into let's give the listeners kind of an unpack of what your JTerm looked like this past January.
I can start it off.
Sure.
So our January term, so Mari recently completed her master's degree in social innovation, which is a traditional field that is not really connected with the education world. But with her background in that and some of my background in project management and some other skills, we thought this would be an excellent opportunity to help kids realize that they can make an impact globally through initiatives that they take on at a local level, so at our school. So we started up what we come to exist at our school. So the students looked at the UN global goals, the 17 global goals, and they made connections between those global goals and issues that they see in industries, and said, what issues do we see kind of transpiring across these three realms? So kind of starting very small, getting bigger, and then going totally global. And so we spent the semester on goals, or addressed some of those goals at our own schools.
And
Yeah, please.
also, we talked about specifically representation in STEM, and also are we represented in the STEM, and how when we get to these career fields, or just thinking about, are people being represented, and how can we tell people about that so they can start thinking, and how can we ourselves think about representation?
And to add on to what Lily said, is one of the things that we really be lower than that this year. So we're trending in a negative direction right now. And we feed these STEM industries, right? That's the mission and purpose of our school, is to feed industries in the design and engineering spaces. So when I change STEAM, we have to change it with us, right? So we can't just continually feed the same population of people in. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting pieces of JTerm in terms of my understanding and continuous learning around it is this empowered youth voice. And I know that offline and bringing it into here, we talk about this empathy piece that I think Lily does a great job of unpacking in a very actionable, tangible way. In terms of, it's one thing to talk about it, quite a bit of stuff in terms of community, working with youth in different scenarios. Anything to add on that empathy component and kind of just walking through?
Yeah, I think it's always, I guess just walking into that space, and furthermore attaching it to this situation is thinking about those soft skills they need to actually complete the cycle of becoming somebody who can have a job in STEM, right? Those soft skills are, whether it's, in school, out of school, in the community, and goals they have within their school academically, social and emotional milestones and goals that they have, but I think that that's all really important when you start to think about holistically serving that child, and that goal that you set for post-secondary access. A lot of the times not being there, behavioral, mental health things that are happening. And so if you really start to get ahead of helping them have that underlying support system that can really uplift them to reach the goals that you guys have within your school, it only empowers them more to really see it as an actual thing that they can obtain, right? It makes it tangible. And so that for me is where my position is at, is getting them to understand that this is a reality. Like, although these corporate organizations are what they call the four horsemen, right? When you talk about investing or whatever the case may be, they may be far in Seattle, whatever the case may be, Google, Microsoft, right? Amazon. But at the end of the day, you can actually really have a position there, right? You can actually have an executive level position there, then one that puts you in position to be that representative, right? And then come back to Tacoma and impact and continue to repeat that cycle. But we have to be aware of like what they're facing holistically and how we can support that to really make it true.
Segue to continue our storytelling, right? So Lily, and with support, right? So you had this JTerm, I think it was 20-something students, right? And kind of engage, go global, and then bring it local. And so just let us know, kind of tell us what transpired out of the conclusion of this JTerm, in terms of kind of what was next, what came next.
Past experiences with education or racism, students may feel that they've been targeted or they've just been not really cared for as other students have been. So it's just interesting to see and hear their stories about students and also how we can move forward.
Yeah, I think for us, like at least for me, there were kind of two outcomes to the mini term. There was this amazing, most success we saw was actually in the community, or in our classroom, the community that they had developed and the empathy that they had developed for each other, just seeing life through someone else's lens.
Yeah, just the level of communication that students were able to have with each other. We really worked to build that culture through community circles.
It's because we had JTerm, because you can't do much in 90 minutes, but when I see a person every day, I'm gonna get to know them. So I think that was really good. The consistency, I think, of having those people here, and every day you get more comfortable with each other and with yourselves. So you just take the time to be honest with yourself and be honest when you're sharing your opinions with other people.
Yeah, I'm so glad. It's a priority, right? Because everything else comes after. In my world, it's like this design cycle of kind of dream, design, deliver over and over and over. And I've applied it to so many different aspects. But part of this dream piece is coupled with defining what that is and getting granular with that. And so I think it's exciting to recognize all of those different pieces, because the human element of design is just as important as the physical product or the action steps, in terms of, okay, great, we have to build this infrastructure. None of that happens without investing the time in the way that you guys did. And so we get through JTerm, we have rich relationships established. Like, there's so many growth metrics that are not only quantitative but like qualitative, and that gets super exciting because some of the best growth isn't always captured in numbers. And in terms of what summer camp looked like, what kind of the product or the vision and the action behind this in-depth work.
I think summer camp was about math design, just showing them all the ways that you could use design, or just, I think, all the things that go into design. There's to take this seriously, and so there are people who will help you.
It was really about a few things, right? One, there's a leadership opportunity for our students at IDEA to step up and be that representative. So people like Lily, little girls can look up and say, I want to be like her. 100%. She's amazing. And so she gets to be that model, and other girls
representing themselves and showing other people who
portraits. They learned how to do portrait drawing from when I build. And it was almost like they could see themselves in a completely different light that they didn't see themselves before. And I think that's because we created a safe space for them to do that and to express themselves. And we got a lot of questions of why just girls? Why do you need to segregate this and just provide an opportunity for girls? And the problem is that safe space doesn't exist in most STEM environments. And so we wanted to create that and create that support network that did it so that girls could feel excited about STEM, that they could feel like they belong in STEM, and they could feel like their presence makes an impact in STEM. So.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here because having worked with you for over a decade now, I know that you're chomping at the bit in terms of that. I think there's this really cool piece of seeing themselves. Talk to me about some of the different work that you've done where I know you're very transparent in showing them.
It's all about, number one, being embedded in the lessons, activities that we teach youth, right? And so we always bring faces that they relate to, people they relate to, historical figures in whatever topic we're talking about, whether it's social justice, historical figures in leadership, mission and vision building, business, whatever. But we always try to bring people to the table that represent the demographic that we're serving when it comes to that. And then we also bring in actual professionals into the building, right? And so I think that's key too, right? So having people who are actually actively in the work that look like them and also come from the same either community or at least region as them, right? And so that looks like, bringing in people who are executive level business owners, people who are accountants, right? People who trips to these campuses, to these places where they can actually see themselves, just in passing by or having somebody tell them the path to actually get there, right? Like, this is how you actually join this organization. This is the process of actually joining this organization, and this is what it looks like in real time. And so what that does for them is it kind of just expands their mind, right? So like if, for example, I remember taking the kids, we had a visit from a group of doctors from the Morehouse School of Medicine during our summer program. They did a virtual Zoom visit, and it literally shifted everybody's mindset around what the possibility is of actually being a doctor, right, or a surgeon or a nurse or whatever. So we had a group of black doctors who came on, talked to our kids, told them about the inner workings of their day. They asked them a multitude of questions over an hour. And after that conversation, it literally was like, I could just see the light bulbs go off. Like, okay, yeah, we can do this. This is possible. And so when you talk about STEM in that same way, you think about like, well, what opportunities are there to introduce these people or bring them to our world? Because a lot of people are ignorant as to what's happening in Pierce County, right? When you talk about everything going on in King County, Greater King County, right? And so I think it's just, it's an added value when you can bring them to the space. They can actually touch and see the kids and talk to them about what their daily job is, responsibility is, and then you guys have an opportunity to network. And that's one thing I always tell my youth, like, do not leave here without a card or a phone number, right? Because your network is your net worth, and I always put that into them so that they understand that.
All right. Do you want to talk about our community partnerships through?
Yeah, that was a key part of the success of being able to have this social innovation lab. We partnered with the University of Washington, Tacoma. They have a global innovation lab as well, so that was really key. You brought in a couple of community partners as well, and not only was it in having them come into our classes, but also presenting to them and having them give feedback to our students and saying that this work is relevant and important, not just in the classroom, but in the community.
It's impactful.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with a yes and because I know it's surfaced in this opportunity, and I think we're throttling down it, right? So there's this idea of theory, and then there's action or application, right? And so I think one of the most exciting pieces that we can share with whoever's tuning in is around this youth empowerment to be those ambassadors. So it's this yes and in terms of we need to show them individuals that are in these different field experience. So and I think just to give them some logistics, right? So 2nd through 8th grade, correct me if I'm wrong, 2nd through 8th grade, like roughly almost 60 students, all girls. Give me some of the kind of the legit. What was the like time frame? How long did it go? I'm just curious. So if someone's out there going, man, I've always wanted to do that, it'd be fun to just give them some pieces. And by all means, follow up with any of us on this to accelerate change anywhere. but I'd love to give them kind of just some of the logistics behind it.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to highlight that this was a student-driven initiative. So
100%.
students were the ones that said, we need to do this. And then,
Yeah.
Give it up
in
for that.
addition, I know we talked about the stats of the students that attended, but what we didn't talk about was the stats of the students that facilitated. We had almost 30 students from IDEA, a population of
amazing.
only
Yeah.
400 students that signed up, gave their time over the summer to support this camp. So we had almost a one-to-one student to camper ratio or staff to camper ratio, which was really cool. So the camps that we hosted, it was 2 3-day camps, one geared toward elementary students, one geared towards middle school students. And in these camps, they participated in community building events, they participated in STEM activities, they participated in, we had them do what we call, what did we call them? The women in tech or women in STEM.
Yep.
And we showed them videos or had them make connections with women who were in these fields doing this job every single day. And then, yeah, Mari, do you want to talk about like the specific activities that they did?
Yeah, we had 7 different rotations. So students were interacting with drones. They made lip balm. They made designed logos and buttons. They got to do circuitry. They got to spend some time in our wood shop, and they all built cute little boxes.
I think my favorite quote about that was we had one girl come in and she goes, I finally got to play with power tools and I didn't get in trouble.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. So students would go with their groups, and they would have a set designated counselor that would go around with them around, and then they had student grill helpers at each different event, and so there was some amazing student to student interactions there. And then at the end, we showcased. We did a showcase, which is a huge cultural thing at IDEA, and so they kind of got to have that own experience as well at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the numbers are staggering, right? Like Jimmy clapped, but to have 30 students
That's
delivering to
hard.
students
That's hard.
is really, I think,
Especially that young.
the magic,
that young.
right?
Yeah.
And I think it's fun as a district to continue to fuel different lanes where students can truly mentor and engage younger students. And so whether it's our Beyond the Bell programming, I think we have over 50 students coaching in a partnership with the city and Metro Parks. Like, it's just exciting to see these different pieces surface. Jimmy, you ran a camp this summer at the East Side Boys and Girls Club. Unpack just some of that work.
Yeah, so it was an 8-week like leadership academy, and essentially what we did is we walked them through some curriculum that we have in-house, and it was all about them understanding financial literacy, mission and vision building, and planning for their school year coming up, and then going into going into college or the workforce, depending on which one they chose. And then also just giving them opportunities to like engage with other professionals, and then like a lot of outdoor field trips, and then outdoor like exercising, physical fitness stuff. And so we took them on a couple different field trips. So they had a full week with Buffalo Soldiers, and so they were able to go on like some nature walks and then understand the historical context behind the Buffalo Soldiers. And then they also did a visit to St. Martin's University. We also took within the actual program, they go through these 8 weeks, and each week is themed out for them to do like a culminating project. So for financial literacy, at the end, they had to build a budget and then also tell us more about the racial wealth gap. And then from there, mission and vision building, they had to do a power circle where they kind of build out a support system of like 4 to 5 people that they can rely on to hold them accountable to their goals for the next school year. And then after that, we really just dived into them closing out and creating commitment statements, right? So what GPA you're gonna get. And so that's one thing too, teaching them how to calculate their GPA and understanding the importance behind what that leads you to for your goals, right? I think a lot of kids still, till this day, don't take their GPA as seriously as they should, right? And I think they think that there's some strategize. And then like, I think the most important part was the community building and relationships. A lot of these guys come from the same schools, but had yet to, like you said, be in a space for a full day with each other. And that was really impactful to see like friendships and bonding happening within our group. So it was excellent. Eastside Community Center was great to us. Metro Parks was a good partner as well. All of our kids were TPS kids. Most of them were Eastside kids. And so, it was great. It was a good experience.
And I think it's the group here is fun because you start to see these through lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about STEM and we talk about equity in STEM, there's so many different elements. And I don't think you'll find any. There's these really neat crossovers, and once again, defining like going beyond the acronym, right, and defining what that looks like. So whether it's the rotation of different experiences where it goes from what might be a very safe, stereotypical example of like, oh, we did design or we did computer science, it's so much bigger than that. And so it's fun to even see the fusion of nature and getting into nature and experiencing that, because it all falls within that realm of just expanded possibility. Our time is kind of drawing towards the end, but
Really?
Yep.
That was fair.
We could go for days, I know. But I can't leave without, and we got time, but I can't leave without kind of like what's the next in terms of equity, in terms of STEM, in terms of things that you've started and are just at this infant stage of really blowing up and having just significant impact for all kinds of students, for community. Let's talk a little bit about what's next.
I think the work we did on identity, that was really impactful for me, because I've never really done that. So I think getting students to think about themselves first and thinking about what do I represent, or what is my background or status, and then also looking around their classroom and seeing the other people. What are their backgrounds? What do they represent? What do they believe? And then looking about trying to get representation of all, or diversity, and also talking with other people about how can we make this more diverse or more represented into the way, represent the hopes that we have.
Yeah.
So to add on to that, Mari and I are really trying to integrate the work that we did on our project level into the kind of the culture of the school, right? And so one way that we're doing that is by starting up affinity groups. So if you're not familiar with affinity groups, they are a safe space that students who share an identity and may share similar experiences in a program can come together and talk about those experiences and then have a voice out of that. And so, there's always a struggle, right? Because it can appear that that's more like segregation.
Right.
But
it's not.
so how is it, how do you do
Let's just put
that?
that
How
out
do you
there,
create
it's
those spaces
Yeah.
without,
For sure.
making it seem
Yeah.
like we're segregating students? And so we're kind of navigating that right now, but the first step is exactly what Lily talked about. It's having students just understand and unpack their,
Not first, but think about who are you, or what do you want to be, and so that they can communicate with others and hopefully help other people identify themselves, identify their strengths and weaknesses and their thoughts, which is a good way to communicate with others and just get to know people and create friendships and partnerships with not just students, but teachers or partners outside of school.
I say for me, on a community perspective, like continuing to cultivate spaces that, build on the brilliance, right? And I think, community-led initiatives, pathways, pipelines that really focus on cultivating that one thing, right, that we're looking to all accomplish, incubator spaces and conduits of support. Like if we can do that, everything else becomes easier for all the institutional partners involved. Right? And I think that bridge between community and school is so important. And so finding that opportunity to really align and just continue that cycle of, repetition and development is key. So that's what we're doing on our end to really start to look at, okay, how do we cultivate even this STEM field, medicine, just industrial understanding of what's happening, workforce development.
The Girls STEM Camp Front, one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got from families is that they wanted more. So we're really looking to provide these STEM Saturdays, so a few Saturdays throughout the year doing kind of.
You've said your voice matters, and you have a really nice way of putting things, and I think that's really good to hear, because I've never really heard that from, I guess, my mom, but just hearing it from teachers and also students, it can really make a student believe that their voice matters, and it can really make someone really just want to put their thoughts and ideas into like a more, I guess, productive or professional way or format.
There we go.
Right? Talk about it.
Can't follow that one.
Talk about a conclusion. I mean, yeah, Lily, we appreciate
For sure.
the unpack. You are the definition of empowered and really actionable change, right? And so the impact, and that's what's fun, right? And I love how transparent you are and vulnerable you are in sharing that with us. I think what's even more exciting is the 57 or almost 60 kids that the 30 students got to engage with this summer. I guarantee across this 60, there are that same message is echoed through their brain in terms of a shift in possibility and truly back to that dream piece. And I think the best is yet to come. So with that, please, like I said, we'll put information in the script in terms of how to reach out to any of us. We appreciate the time. Join us for our third and final kind of podcast of this series on October 12th around art and design. And so with that, we thank you and take care.